What does Joe need? Joe needs death.
But it's a love story. What world? I don't believe that's love. I don't believe that love equals this. So I think there's a question: what is love? And if we think this is love, where are we mistaken?
I mean, he's gonna keep murdering. He's gonna keep stalking. He's gonna keep joeing it up, and people are gonna love it.
Love it.
Doesn't kill love because she's pregnant, and I mean it's kind of silly in a way. It's like, why do you value that human life? So because it's yours? It's not.
Ooh.
That's not what that is.
This is not love. This is not love.
To me, it's like, how far are we willing to go to forgive an evil white man? And you start to discover his true motives pretty early on, like 8 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's capable of stalking. He's a guy who's capable of murder.
I shouldn't watch it because I'm an abusive stalker, obsessive, compulsive man.
I have a theory that the writers of You were getting tired of people not understanding the point of Joe, that they said in this last recent season that they're just gonna make it clear and upfront in our faces. I've been an avid You hater since the show came out, and I've been on social media in the past month or so, so I don't know if people have made these points about this last season, but I want to talk about what I noticed in this past season of watching You on Netflix. In my opinion, the entire season as well as the entire show could be summarized with Louise's line where she says, the fantasy of a guy like you is how we cope with the reality of a guy like you, because Joe is a benevolent patriarch who creates problems and then he has to solve the problems, right? Because Joe creates the monsters that he then has to protect you from because he sees himself as a protector. I'm going to try to be as gender neutral as possible as I made this video, but I know a lot of things I'm going to say are going to come off like I'm talking at women, and if I'm overstepping at all in this video, please let me know. I'll take it down. It's no problems. The character Joe Goldberg is how people fall in love with benevolent patriarchy, and his character's behavior is a perfect example of ambivalence and sexism. Over the years of the show You, the things I've heard and seen about Joe Goldberg is that he's this amazing guy until he does the actual unaliving of people, right? And that, you know, people love his character because he's so protective and caring of these women that he's in these relationships with. And I think it's because what Joe represents is a lot of green flags that people have when it comes to dating, as well as a lot of green flags people want to have when it comes to people meeting them. So a lot of women expect the protective behavior that Joe has, and a lot of men want to be the protectors in their relationships. This is why it's important to interrogate why you have certain preferences when it comes to relationships, when it comes to dating, and what position that puts you in, and also recognizing how that might show up in your partner and if that could be harmful for you. Let's tie this back into Joe Goldberg, right? Because one of the main things we like about him is that he's protective of these women that he's in relationships with, right? But that's the thing, though. It's his identity. And once protective becomes your identity, everything becomes a threat. And luckily for Joe, and reality for a lot of women, is that a lot of women are in fact endangered because of men, right? So Joe Goldberg is protecting women from men, right? But whenever there's not an imminent threat there, he now has to make up a story as to why you're in danger and why he has to protect you. As we can see, if it wasn't a man that was an immediate threat to you, he made it about your friends. Your friends are not good people for you, right? It could be your family. It could be XYZ. He now has to find a way to put your life in danger, right? By some made up story to keep you safe. And if his identity is protector, your identity now becomes damsel in distress always. And that's benevolent patriarchy, right? But also there's the possibility that now he views you as the threat to yourself or the relationship. So now you have to be dealt with as well, right? In whatever way he seems fit. And that's when Joe's, benevolent sexism becomes hostile sexism. That's the ambivalence. The best dialogue that kind of addresses this is the last one with Louise and Joe at the end, where she says something along the lines of like the fantasy of a man like you is to cope with the reality of a man like you, because Joe is the problem who now presents himself as a solution. This is already too long. I have more thoughts on that show and that season that I can add. Let me know if this made sense, and I'll see if I want to do part 2.